Hey everybody, my name is Duran, and today we're going to talk about is sugar, salt, or fat the biggest problem in our diets today? So, to answer this question, we have to look at a couple different things. First of all, in one of the previous videos, I mentioned what a diet really is, and a diet is just simply what you eat the majority of the time, right? Um, when people hear the word diet, most people will think of a meal plan, a carb cutting diet, maybe paleo, maybe keto, maybe carnivore, maybe vegan, right? Some kind of specific restricted way of eating. But really, a diet just means, when you talk about your diet, it just means what you eat the majority of the time. Because what you eat the majority of the time is what ends up building this body and making this body the way it is. And so when we look at the problems in the diet, right? When we look at what is the biggest problem of the diet, the first thing you have to understand is that this human body is so extremely complex, and there's so many things going on at every given moment that there's no one thing that is the problem, okay? There's no one thing that is the problem. When we think of health, right, we have to think of it in terms of balance. And so when we talk about eating food or a diet, all that it means is that we're trying to eat a certain way to be healthier, right? We're trying to eat a certain way to feel better. We're trying to eat a certain way to have less chronic disease, to have less pain, to have more energy, to be able to do the things that we want to do in life. We're trying to use food as a way to build this house that we live in, or this body, so that it is no longer the problem. So that the body isn't paining, so that the body isn't hurting, so that the body isn't breaking, so that the body isn't sick and diseased. We're trying to eat food to make this body, or to make this house in such a way that it is no longer a problem. And then once it's not a problem and it becomes a platform, then we start to explore other areas in our life, okay? Other deeper areas in our life, which all human beings are longing for. So to talk about food, we have to understand that it's very, very complex, right? When you eat a banana and it turns into human body, right? The example that I've heard a lot before is, if I eat a banana, it turns into my body. If you eat the same banana, it turns into your body, right? Like this body is complex. This body turns food into human body, okay? And so you can't think of it as good or bad. You can't think of things as being, this is the problem with the diet, this is the problem with our diet, this is the problem, okay? You have to think of everything that we eat has an impact. And the more we eat of certain things, the more those things have a greater impact on our physical body and other parts, but mostly we're just talking about the physical body right now, right? So if you eat something the majority of the time, that's how your body will start to show up, right? I've heard a lot of different stats, but the most recent one I've heard is that your entire body, all the cells in your body, completely regenerate after about 2.5 years. So after 2.5 years, you have a completely brand new body. Okay, all the cells that were in there at this time have died off, and then brand new cells have been made. So your body is constantly regenerating and constantly rebuilding and repairing itself using the materials or food that we supply it with, okay? And so there's no one problem. It is, what are we eating the majority of? What are we eating most often? And that is resulting in what our body is at the time, okay? The biggest thing I can instill and share with you is that we have to stop looking at food in terms of nutrients and start looking at food in terms of qualities. What do I mean by that? I mean, everything has a quality to it, right? Everything expresses a quality, and qualities are things like life, death, hot, cold, sharp, smooth, oily, liquid. There's different words that we can describe as qualities of things, right? But at the basis of food, we can talk about this food having the qualities of life, which is energy and light and movement, right? Or the qualities of death, sickness, disease, lethargy, inertia, okay? the qualities of the food that you eat become the qualities of the body. The food becomes the body. The qualities of the food become the qualities of the body. Okay, so what we're eating, the qualities of those things become the qualities that we express in our physical body. Okay? So when we take a look at things like salt, sugar, fat, okay, we have to start seeing those things as not good or bad. They're just food packages. Sugar just is a chemical. Fat just is a chemical. Okay? Carbs are just chemicals. Proteins are just chemicals, right? Salt is just a chemical, right? At its basic fundamental foundation, right? And so as we eat those things, if we're eating certain amounts of them, then our body will be in a certain way. So there's no one problem here. There's no one problem with sugar, salt, or fat. All of those things are necessary. Sugar, salt, and fat are necessary for the body to be built in the way that it should be built. Healthy, strong, vibrant, that kind of stuff. Okay, living, right? The problem becomes in where are you getting those chemicals, right? Because we don't eat nutrients. We eat food. Okay, we can take a look at an apple. And an apple has over 300 chemical compounds in it that scientists know of. Simple apple. Okay? But when you look at the nutrition facts of the apple, it's going to say it's got a little protein, some carbs, some fat, some vitamins in there, maybe some potassium, right? You can look it up. But it's a very limited view on what an apple really is. That's like saying human beings are, all human beings are just skin, bones, and some internal organs, and that's it. There's no big deal to it, right? So we're doing a disservice to the food that we eat when we just describe it in terms of nutrients, because it's much, much more than that. It's a package. It's an entire package, right? So getting sugar from an apple compared to getting sugar from a candy bar are obviously two different food packages, okay? And so what comes in those food packages is going to affect the body differently, all right? So there's no one problem in our diet. If I was going to say there is one trend in the diet, it is the processed food, right? So it's not sugar, salt, or fat. It is when we want to eat foods that have living qualities. If the qualities of our life, if we want our life to be living, if we want to express the qualities of life, light, energy, movement, exuberance, right? Joy, like those living qualities, we have to eat food that have living qualities to them. Okay? Living quality foods are like whole plant foods, things that are alive. Okay? Foods with dead qualities are your highly processed foods, the foods that are not alive. They're not plants. They're not anywhere close to a whole plant food. They've been processed 1,000 times, right? They have high, a lot of different qualities of death in them. Okay. And so I would say that, right? So we have to start looking at these things differently, not trying to find one quick solution to a complex problem, right? You're not going to find one thing. Oh, it's the fat. That's the problem. I'll take care of the fat. It's all good to go, right? People have been doing that for years and years and years and years, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work long term. It might work for a bit, right? It might work for a few years or a few months or whatever, but it's not long term. It's not sustainable. It doesn't create deep levels of health within you. Okay, it just scratches the surface of maybe losing a few pounds here or there, right? So we're trying to look for deep levels of health where weight loss and skin issues and health and joy and all those things, those are byproducts of these deep levels of health that we get. And so again, it's not one thing. It's not one thing, right? We start to look at food in terms of packages, but I would highly suggest if you want to focus in a direction of changing something you're eating, start to move towards eating more live foods, whole plant foods, and less highly processed foods, and you will start to see the qualities of your life become more alive, okay? Hopefully that makes sense, you guys. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, any specific things about food or dieting, let me know, and I'll answer them. Thanks. Have a wonderful night.